Hello, Chris O'Connor. A warm welcome to podcast Pedwar, podcast number 4. Today we're looking at collaboration. If you're new to us, a warm welcome. This is the North Wales Business Academy, a project that's been running in North Wales since 2017, helping businesses improve and future-proof their business. So joining me today, as in the last 3 podcasts, are my fellow mentors. I have Mike Scott, who works with us at Llanrydlo. Welcome, Mike. Chris Walker from Bangor University. Welcome, Chris. And Larry Jones from Group Llanrydlo as well. So welcome, Larry. So previous podcasts, if this is your first one that you're looking at, number 1, we had a look at innovation in the age of coronavirus. Podcast 2, we were looking at business mentoring. So the 4 of us work as business mentors on the project, and we've been in a privileged position to actually work with lots of companies across North Wales. And then last week we were looking at customer service and customer loyalty in the age of coronavirus. So today we're looking at collaboration. So in the age of coronavirus, we've had lots of businesses having to adapt to the situations they've got. So examples of businesses collaborating. So I'm just going to start with a little round robin of collaboration, your experiences, good or bad. Chris, if I can start with you first.
I'm an absolutely massive fan of collaboration, and a long story very short is that the business I created over 30 years ago is an intentional network that is a global business, has functioned extremely well, and has as its client base some of the biggest companies on the planet. So absolutely thumbs up. However, there are some caveats to that, which means that you've got to do it with care and with a good degree of forward planning and thinking. So good, but needs due diligence to make it work.
Okay, thank you, Chris. Mike, if I can come to you next, your experience of collaboration, good or bad or in the middle?
Yeah, very good. Massive fan as well. I guess particularly as a small business, and I've generally run small businesses over my career. It's given us fantastic competitive advantage, opportunities that we wouldn't have been able to maximize on our own. We've needed partners, we've needed other companies, we've needed other people to realize some of these opportunities. Therefore, collaboration has been absolutely essential. And in most cases, it's worked out really well. But I also take Chris's point that sometimes you need to put certain systems, processes and agreements in place just to make sure everyone knows what they're committing to and make sure it works effectively. Other than that, it's a great way to do business.
Good stuff. Yeah, and in terms of process, we'll come back to that. Larry, your experience of collaboration?
Yes, over the years I've worked with a lot of different organisations. We're currently working as well with a group of people. Yes, I agree, it's an excellent way of working, but it has its challenges, and I think right at the beginning is definitely deciding what is what's the purpose of working together, and what are the and deciding what are the aims and objectives. So yes, very positive, but yes, having to take one step at a time I think is important.
Good, thank you for those opening comments, guys. So we talked a little bit, so generally the feeling is collaboration is good, and I'd agree with that. So if we look at, we've talked a little bit about having ground rules or processes, and Chris, we were talking earlier about some of the work you did in the roadmap workshop this morning as part of the academy. Can you tell us a little bit more about that and what you were talking about?
Yeah, sure. So in previous road mapping sessions, I guess to develop the kind of the theme that's come out already is that because most of our businesses here in North Wales are SMEs, small to medium, I think agreeing very much with Mike's comments really is that often the only way we can grow to a size where we can compete with particularly external contractors, etc., is to join together. So certainly in road mapping, we've been encouraging collaboration as a way to grow and to take on assets that we haven't got and know-how and skills that we haven't got that by collaborating, we can have a bigger punch, if I can put it like that. But so in response to a bit of a bruising collaboration that I had probably about 8 years ago now, I created, almost in my anger, a thing called the COCOCO, which is the Collaborators Code of Conduct. And it is very much about, you do have to worry about ownership and IP and whose idea is what, and particularly if you break up and whoever else you're collaborating with takes the idea and leaves you high and dry. So what the COCOCO does is it's a kind of a process that means that at a very early stage with your collaborating partners, you discuss, and building really on what Hilary was saying, is that you make sure you understand what the goals are, what the commitments are, who owns what, and that these are very important aspects to put in place to make you trust, feel safe and confident that the collaboration is actually going to bear fruit.
Mm-hmm. I like that, Chris. And again, if you're new to the Academy, we run weekly roadmap sessions on Tuesdays, where Chris will talk you through and help develop maybe some ideas about your business and where it is at the moment. So in terms of good collaboration then, and building on your points there, Chris, what are some of the other barriers to collaboration that folks have experienced that sort of stop us collaborating? If someone's out there thinking, I've never done something like this before, you know, what are some of those barriers?
I think one for me that I've experienced is the level of commitment of the partners that are involved in the collaboration. I've been in the only times it's not worked, and most of the time I'll have to say it has worked, is where the people involved have had different levels of commitment. Okay. And what I mean by that is generally you're running your own business day to day, side by side, probably to the collaborative project that you're working on, and some people can put more time and effort into it than others can. And if that's not agreed early on, then you can fall out a little bit in terms of you know how much energy and time and effort people put in, and how much time and effort some people don't put in, shall we say?
Yeah.
So I think sort of getting some clarification in terms of how you're going to work together at the start, maybe building rules a bit later on if you need them, but just making sure that everyone's committed at a similar kind of level. That's just something I'd watch out for.
Mm-hmm. Good stuff. Thank you, Mike. Hilary, as Mike was talking there, I'm struck by the similarity between that and when we think about how high-performing teams work.
Yes, definitely. I think we can learn a lot from characteristics of high-performing teams, you know, having trust between each other, people understanding their roles and responsibility, as Mike is saying, and also expectations. You know, what do we expect? Because maybe people will be motivated to come together, to work together, but they need to make sure that they're actually going in the same direction. Yeah. So I think you need to have open communication and probably, you know, have some sort of, you know, you sort of distribution of leadership, whatever works. But as Mike says, it's really important that these things are done at different stages. It's not something you can do right at the start, but that you're aware that you need to, you know, definitely want to go to the performing stage.
Yeah, and that's an important point. It is a process, and depending on where you are in that process, there are different things involved. So, and I'm struck, you know, we've had examples of, I think, 2 companies recently, Crest and Dillans, who have cooperated. Crest provided vehicles, Dillans provided the food as they were supplying meals to the NHS and key workers recently. So if I can finish up then and just ask, you know, the advantages of collaboration. From your experiences, what have you seen as the advantages of collaboration? If someone's out there sitting watching this wondering, is this something I should even start to invest time and energy into? What would you say? Chris, if I could come back to you first on that.
For me, the massive advantages are, and I want to sort of twin it with the idea of network as well, because I think there's a certain connectivity there, is that what happens when you've got, so in establishing my business as a conscious network to become a global business, what it actually means is a living, breathing organization that I'm going to use a metaphor quickly of slime mold. What slime mold does is that its brain is, it's not centralized, it's actually throughout the network. And what that actually means is that when food dries up, the slime mold will retreat and extend into areas where there's more feedstock. And what I'm saying is that here in Wales, with COVID and lockdown, etc., is we're looking at something that's potentially quite a difficult time for us over the next year. And if we're able to form functioning networks, that means that we can explore different markets, we can go global, we can have a better reach, we can share resource. This is a massively good idea to enable us to survive and thrive in this next period. And for me, it makes the downsides that there may be in collaboration well worth the effort to work through.
Good. I like that, Chris. Thank you. Mike, yourself?
Yeah, I can give you a personal example, I guess. You know, I made a lifestyle choice to run a very small business a few years ago, and at the time I did that, I had some fairly big customers from my sort of previous company, which would have been hard for me to maintain on my own because of the variety of needs that they had that we could fulfill beforehand, but I couldn't fulfill anymore.
Yeah.
So it was important that I had people around me that could collaborate with me to enable us to sort of meet or even exceed some of those customer expectations going forward. So what it's allowed me to do is maintain that customer base, even though I'm only a small business now. And I think that presents itself to all small businesses, that by collaboration, you can maximize a lot of big customer opportunities. And I would see that as a huge advantage to the process of collaboration. And it's worked very, very well for me. And I'm still here.
Good. But we haven't got our hot tubs yet, Mike, have we?
No.
And Larry, finally to you.
I think, yes, we can achieve more, can't we, if we work together. It's like any other sort of characteristic of a team. But also, at this present moment, I think we can share some of the challenges that we're facing. And I think that's really important, that, you know, it's challenging for everybody, but by working together with the suppliers, with other businesses, I think it may make it easier for us to deal with the challenges which are confronting us. I agree.
Diolch, Larry. Well, thank you very much, guys. So that's the end of our podcast for today. So my thanks to Mike, Chris and Larry for joining me. And to you who are listening and watching, thank you again. If you're watching this on our LinkedIn group, feel free to add in a comment. If some of the things we've discussed today, you think I'd like to talk to some people some more about that, then we're here at the Academy. We do hangouts every Monday afternoon, and we also run roadmap sessions Tuesday, so you can get in touch with us. You'll find us on social media. We're on LinkedIn, Facebook, and Instagram, and Twitter, so feel free to follow us on there. Next week, we're going to do a little bit of some crystal ball gazing. We have this new phrase, the new normal. We're going to have a little look at what the new normal is. And as I say that, I'm aware that today we had a headline that for the last 2 months, we've produced energy in Britain without any coal. So I'll leave you on that. Stay safe, and we'll see you next week. Thank you very much. Bye-bye.